and welcome to our Year 3 English Week 2 Lesson 8 video for today. So today we're going to be having a look at working through this worksheet, which is a character development map. We're going to be basing this lesson or this part of the lesson off our text of Pam and Lily. If you want to have another look at that text, you can go back to Monday's PowerPoint or video, and there's actually a reading of Pam and Lily in there, or there's also the document that you can download off One School if you need to have another look. So we're going to be locating the different parts of information on this text, on this worksheet throughout the text to help complete our character development worksheet. This will help give us more information about our characters, and when we go to do our own writing and coming up with our own characters, we'll be doing the same sort of thing to help develop our characters to use in our story. So the first part that we need to complete is the bit at the top of our worksheet where you need to put in the character's name, the title of the story, and the author. We have done this previously in a lesson, so you should be able to quickly go ahead and do that now. If you need, pause the video, press play when you're ready to move on. Okay, so the first part that we're going to begin to look at is the what did the character look like? So we're going to be skimming the text to find information about the appearance of our character Pam. So I've included the first page there because that gives us a very good example, but I'm not just going to use those words that are exactly in the text. For this, and well, for many of our questions that we're going to look at today, the illustrations also give us more information about what's going on in our text and give us more information particularly about our characters as well. And this one about appearance, we can get a lot of information from our illustrations throughout our book as well. Okay, so the next slide I'm about to go to is going to show the answer that I've come up for this box. So if you want to go and have a go by yourself, you need to pause it now, or you can go to the next one and copy in what I've got. Okay, so what did the character look like? Pam was big and had messy hair. She always had a grumpy look on her face and looked angry. I could tell she looked angry because of the way her mouth sat and her eyes. She also crossed her arms a lot, which I do when I'm cranky or angry. So some of that I got directly from the words in the text, the evidence. I also used some of my prior knowledge with that evidence as well. And I looked at the illustrations. I could not be able to describe the way her mouth sat or the way her eyes looked without that illustration. Okay, the next part that we are going to move on to is what was the character's role in this story. So we're going to be looking at the main things that that character does in the story, also using those illustrations to support our work or to get our answers from as well. So I'm about to move on to the next page. Actually has some examples of evidence that I'm using to help come up with this answer. And the next slide I'm about to go to now is what I've actually put as my answer for this part of the sheet. So if you want to go and have a go, which I suggest you do, press pause and then press play once you're ready to move on. Okay, so what was the character's role in the story? Pam begins the story as a bully. She is mean to others and is rude to adults and to kids. At the end of the story, Pam becomes a much nicer person to be around. She ends up being a good friend to Lily. So once again, I've used lots of aspects from the text to come up with that answer. So the written stuff, the evidence from the text, as well as the illustrations, and my prior knowledge. The next part that we're going to move on to is how did the character act? So once again, I'm going to use multiple parts of our text to come up with this answer. I might choose to use exact words from the text or create my own based on my prior knowledge or the evidence or the illustrations. I use the same pages and the same pieces of evidence from the text to come up with this answer as well. how did the character act? At the beginning of the story, Pam acted in a mean way. She would hit other students and be rude by ignoring teachers. She also yells a lot, which is not a very nice thing to do. At the end of the story, Pam begins to act nice and become friendly. She helps others and listens to the teacher, and she laughs and smiles. So you can see there that not only have I used information or words that were exactly in our text, the evidence, but I've also used some of my own prior knowledge, and I've looked at those illustrations to help form my answer to this question. Okay, the last part that we're going to look at now is how did the character change? So a lot of the time in a story, you will see that the main character usually goes, or a main character usually goes through a change throughout the book. And Pam is that character for us throughout this story. We see her change as the story begins, and there's that change before the story ends. So I'm going to use my text to help me come up with that. I use the whole text to be able to answer this. I had obviously prior knowledge of reading the text. I knew what happened to my characters, so I was able to then go and answer this based on that. How did the character change? Pam started off as a very mean character who was rude and mean towards many other characters. Lily showed her an act of kindness, and we started to see Pam change. So even though I've added in a little bit about Lily there, it's actually not about Lily that we're talking about, because Lily was that key thing that was causing the change in our character of Pam that we're focusing on. So I've mentioned her in that because that is a key part as to why we started to see a change in Pam. By the end of the book, Pam was a happy character who was instead nice and friendly to the other characters in the story. Okay, so that is that graphic organizer development map completed. We've done that one for our example text of Pam and Lily. You are now going to do that exact same character map, focusing on the character of Curly from the focus text Curly to the Rescue. If you need that text, it is up on the OneNote for you to go and access. For you to have another look through. There's also a voice recording on a PowerPoint of that from Miss Winter if you would like to listen to it being read to you again as well. Please make sure that when you finish any work, it goes up either on the OneNote or you send through an email with either pictures or your work scanned into so that the teachers can mark it and give you some feedback.